relieve your anxiety, your control, whatever mine is control and plans. These, I used to default to other things. I default to these things now. Um, and I was reading these stories. Just I don't know how long I've been reading these stories. Probably a couple of weeks. Um, but it happened to me very simply. I think the most painful one that I had to do was pretty recently. How many of you guys like to mow grass? And you have a routine, and you got this thing planned out. You've been looking at the weather. You're like, okay, it's going to be cool and about 6 in the morning. I'm going to fight what to do a little bit. Well, I decided I was going to mow grass, and I planned it out. I already know how it's going to work, and I'm not praying about it. I'm not praying, hey, is today a good day to mow grass? I don't do that. I just mow grass, It's not spiritual at all. It's actually you just get out there and do it. Put the gas in there and hope. I do pray that it cranks, because that's a real bind when it don't crank, and it's really out of hand. The neighbor's like, hey, you need my lawnmower, and you don't want to hear that. I sure don't. So I tried to, mow grass, and I was 10 minutes in. I was kind of ready, doing pretty good. And he said, hey, put that up and go help your wife set up for that party. And I said, well, it's funny you say that because we had talked about this. She told me the stuff I needed to do, and this was one of them things. I don't know, you're going to have to help me, because I run out of grid here. And he said, put that up and go help your wife. I said, all right, so I'm thinking, how can I knock out as much as I need to and then put it up and still get the D minus or maybe a C. Maybe I can curve it up. And I just put it up because I got tired of feeling like the feeling, when you're pushing your limit. So I went inside, went and helped her. If I hadn't helped her, she would have never had the party ready for the baby. The help that was supposed to come didn't show. And what really sucked is it didn't have a thing to do with me. She was like, that's so encouraging that the Lord told you to stop doing what you wanted to do to help me. And I was like, you were talking about the flesh dying. There was goodness. I didn't see the goodness. I was just feeling the flesh. Ow, these nails are hurting on my hands. I don't like this. And Christine benefited, and she was thanking the Lord. And I was not thanking the Lord because I still got to mow the grass. But it was very nice to see that it's good to follow Him, even in silly, stupid things like that, like really simplistic. The scripture that I was reading not long after that, so I could see if He could encourage me like He did her, is John 21:6. He's talking to some fishermen, and he said, throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get some. So they did, and they couldn't haul in the net because it was so many fish. These guys have been fishermen for many years. And he didn't tell them, hey, drill a hole in the boat and drop a net below. It was a very simple task. Very simple nudge, very simple direction. And they just went to the other side. And they seen that following Him is way better results, right? When you get nothing and then you have 153, it's pretty easy to see that's a good way to go. But you really don't have that opportunity until He says something. I didn't even realize that I was following my own plan. I didn't. I mean, I knew that I had an agenda that day, but I didn't have the opportunity to follow Him until He told me to do something different. Outside of that, I'm following my way. This is my way. I didn't even have a chance to go His way. I didn't even know what He wanted. I never even asked Him either. But He told me, and so there's a battle that began to happen. And then I said, man, I got the opportunity to go this way and see something new. I wouldn't have encouraged my wife like that. I didn't know how. But he knew, man, she's going to want encouragement. And look, I'm going to mess with this old boy here and I'm going to get her attention and I'm going to love on her a little bit. And that's honestly, to me, the best thing that could happen, is just a little encouragement, a little support. As we follow the shepherd, Jesus, your life will change and the lives of others around you. And if there's a statement that I could think about for the past couple of weeks, that's it. As we do that, people around us, it's going to touch them. They're going to see it. They're watching. I know wherever I go, wherever y'all go, they're looking. Hey, they want the Lord. I think about I call him my little brother, but he's my little cousin. But we've been together since I was little. But he's watched my life and tried to intellectually figure out how it works. But that's a tormenting thing, right? But I told him last night, I said, man, I gave up my way. Maybe not all the time, but here and there in these little pockets, I would get into pressure. And the Lord would say, here's where I want you to go. And I would say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And over time, that's what happens to everybody. You're just following a voice. I said, there's nothing, actually, there's zero intellectual ability about it. It is, here's what I want to do. Here's what he wants to do. And that's it. It's very, very simple in the mind, but not so much in the action portion. Let's see. All right, here's another little. Whoops, sorry. Here's another little story. John 3:17. It says, I'll give you a minute to get there, because I've got a lot of these little things. You know what? Even in doing this right here, even just in reading and hearing the Lord, He will change everything that you have, or He'll tell you something at 9:51 that sums up everything you have. And your grid, I'm just being honest and vulnerable. In your mind, you're like, wow, how'd he do that? He's the one that was telling you the stuff. And it really just blows me away how that happens. I guess I'm just easily entertained. I'm not really 100% sure. But just these scriptures, they all tied to him. In some story, in some parable, in some form, it's him. And I learn something new every time I open it up and say, okay, I've read this a million times. I'm getting to where I can't even see a whole bunch of the little bitty print anymore. So I'm like, all right, now I've got glasses on. Show me something new. Maybe I can see something cool. But this one, I've heard this my whole life. It's 3:17 in the book of John. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Through him, as we walk with him, following him, we are being saved from ourselves, our torment, our anxiety, our addiction. Only through him, as we listen to him. I used to think, oh, I walk the aisle, I sign the card, I'm saved. No. If I continue through him, he's the gate. If I keep walking, maybe I did walk a path, but I have to keep walking that path every single day. So I was like, man, I've read that 100 times, And so I get excited. I'm like, all right, well, show me something else, This is kind of cool. So him is Jesus. The Father sent us the way. The Father sent us the way in the flesh, Jesus. He showed us how to lose our life to follow the Spirit wherever the Father would lead. He modeled what we should model. So I was like, why would we walk an aisle? He was like, well, it is the path. I was like, I guess you're right. Because I didn't understand the aisle thing. I was like, all right, help me with the aisle thing. What about the card thing? Well, you are signing a covenant. And I was like, all right then. All right, I'll leave you alone. I'm done. Let's be done then. Because, about this time it's 11 o'clock and I'm tired. Oh man, these are fun. This is fun to me. I love this stuff because it delivers me from years of knowledge. And I know knowledge sounds smart, but it's just really, I come to know it's just really not. It doesn't help me at all. It's actually very tormenting. It takes all the fun out of life. I told my kids the other day, I was like, the job that I do is relatively painful because when I come home, I know all these stories and bad moments that people have had, and I come home, and the hardest thing is to not project that on them. Ride your motorcycle, just wear a helmet. You just ride whatever, you do whatever you want. But I've seen, so I try to harness that because that stuff happened to these people, and that may have been once in 5 events that will ever happen in their life. So that's what the harness part is, just letting the mind go. Hey, work, I'm done. We're leaving. All right. So let's move right up to John 15:1. This is just a few chapters up. All right. Says, I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I've given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. So, me and Christine have had this garden for a decent amount of time. We worked on our compost. We really just wanted to be outside more. It's weird. If you stay inside your house, that's fun and nice, and the AC is great. But when you go outside, it's just like a different world. I mean, I just like being outside and just, I don't know, it clears my mind. So I was a terrible gardener before. Like everything I planted would die. But I did realize you can't plant things in Highland because there's cats. And cats love gardens. They come over there and they make their bed. You know what I mean? So nothing grows. So we have actually been growing some vegetables, and some of them died, some of them didn't. And then we just kind of learned this. Everything has to be watered. You got to keep an eye. It's hot. You can't water it at lunchtime. That burns it. We're learning, and so I think about these scriptures as I'm doing this by hand. Because we'll forget about it. Oh, we got to get the weeds out. Oh, we got to put some of this or that or whatever, and it's a lot of work. Honestly, next year I think we'll plant one thing and be done with it. We got cucumbers, we got tomatoes, we got avocados. We were ignorant. Ignorant gardeners. They just run off. Hey, we're gonna plant everything. Good luck with that. So I didn't understand the fruitfulness. I was like, why would you cut a branch? Well, like you're trying to grow. What if that's where the tomatoes come off of? Well, you can tell pretty quickly if there's tomatoes coming off of it or not. And if it's dead, you got to cut it off. And I was like, oh, wow, that's probably what he's doing to our life every day. And so then I don't get so, better not say that, irritated. I'll just say irritated. You don't get irritated when he does something and you don't understand it. If he does something, you understand it, it doesn't really harm you as much, right? But if you don't understand it, then, he's got to explain himself. I mean, that's what I feel like. You got to tell me what's going on. He doesn't have to tell us nothing. I remember one day he told me, he goes, John, I don't prefer your preferences. Them are yours, not mine. And I was like, that was highly offensive, you know. But he's honest. He's real. I mean, I feel like he's real to me, like other people that I work with are just real. And that's great. There's no fluff. There's no, hey, once you wash your feet real quick, then I'll talk to you. Once you do these 10 things, then we'll meet. You gotta make an appointment with me at 2:45, and if you're late, I won't talk to you. It's just not like that. And he's different like that. So learning about how he does life in gardening is very different. You know, I've tried it before, and I felt like I pruned everything. You know, I pruned everything by ignorance because it just all it all died. But it says, "Remain in me, and I will remain in you." He is life. If you don't remain in him, you don't have life. You can't produce without him. And if you do, it's temporary. It just goes poof. That's it. There is no more life. Um, we only find his life by leaving ours daily. And the sad part about that is that's a choice. I don't feel like he beats on us and says, give up your life. He asks, would you give today? You know, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but calendars are terrible for Christians that want to follow Christ because you can set all these things in motion. I mean, and they're great. They are great things. Like I'll tell you, I'll be honest. We went on a lot of family trips this year. We never go on family trips. My kids are going to get to go to a water park for the first. They've never. Well, they've been to a water park one time in their whole life. You know. So we were like, hey, we're going to go on a family trip this year. Just us, just the babies, and have fun. And as I was planning this, I was so nervous, you know, because when I plan, I'm like, something bad's going to happen, you know. We're going to get there, and yes, something is going to happen. But, you know, every time that has happened, something better happened. And you know what he is still teaching me? My way is better. My kids listen to this song by Forrest Frank, and it's called My Way is Better. And they're singing it in the back, and I'm going, I hate the process. I hear you. I hate the process. And they're just singing their hearts out. I'm like, once you get older, you'll understand. But they said his way is better. When something happens, I used to think when the groceries at Walmart are late, irate, I would lose my mind. Do you know what happens sometimes when the Walmart groceries are late? They pay for your groceries. I didn't know that until they were late or they didn't show up or something happened. I remember one time they didn't even show up. We needed diapers. And I was like, we're going to have to go old fashioned and go in the store, you know? Isn't that crazy? Let's go old fashioned and go in the store. Wouldn't that be bad if we'd go out and meet people and shop together? But I was like, wow. You know, what is it? Gen Z problems, right? Am I Gen Z or I think I'm a millennial? I don't remember. I get lost. I forget. I don't even remember what all that is. Oh gosh. So do you now pray that your groceries are late? I don't even know when they come or when they go. I have a professional Walmart orderer. I do know I have to pay the kids to put the groceries up, so we're gonna have to change that, Christine. I started this payment system with the kids. You know, they get like $1 or $2 or $5, you know, and they get paid every week on Friday. You know, I'm trying to teach them how it works. And she was like, I think you went a little heavy, you know. We paid Deacon $20 in one week. I was like, whoa, we got to stop that. We're going to slow that down. Man, you know, he went crazy. He was like, oh, I mow the grass. Oh, I wash the dishes. Oh, I put the laundry in. You know, man, this guy's got it going on. You know, he's like, I'm going to buy all kinds of stuff, Dad. And I was like, I tell you what, we're going to have to slow this thing down, brother, because I'm either paying you or paying the electricity bill. So I'm going to have to put you on the IOU. We'll put you on layaway, brother. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, Lord, man. But he's all we got. He's it. I mean, he's the whole deal. That's it. I mean, I don't know anything. I listened to Holly's message about community. Man, he is community. I think about that picture. I don't remember when I seen this picture. This was years ago. And the Lord was made up of people. Like millions, billions of people. Like his legs were people. They were faces. Like he is community. There is no way that he exists without community. Like if there was no community, he wouldn't have a leg or an arm or a body. It wouldn't be a body. And I was like, man, that is the whole epitome of what Christianity is. Or if Christianity is one thing, following him is being the body and doing it together. You know, if maybe David says, hey, I'm not going to follow him, maybe the Lord doesn't have a finger. You know, I don't know. Then maybe he says, hey, John, David's not following the Lord. I need you to follow the Lord. Okay, I'll be your finger, you know, or whatever, you know. I don't know. Maybe it's not like that at all, but maybe I have to pull David so we can be a finger. uh, well, yeah, that could get out of hand. Well, may we find his life. May we put our minds on his life and spend our days walking with him. We live in a very interesting time in life. I was thinking about this last night. You know, we were all hanging out, kids were playing in the pool, and we're just all talking. Some of these cousins I haven't seen in 15 years. One of the kids, last time I seen him, he's 5. Now he's 25. You know, so it's just like we live in a different age, you know. And we were walked inside, looked at the news. You know, golly, I try not to look at the news, but I try not to keep my head in the sand either. You know, and everything changes every 10 to 20 seconds. Everything changes. You know, the trend changes, society changes, what people are into, what people are not into. It just changes so rapidly. It's like we're the internet. And you know, the internet changes all the time. But if our mind is on the things that change, we are in the ocean and there's nothing near. And every wave that's coming, we are up and down with it, you know. Eventually we get weary. And if there's nothing near, nothing solid that we have, we sink. We just sink right on down. And I think about the people that I work with, that you work with. The rock that they see is you. I think about, you know, Christine was talking about my mom, and I was like, don't talk about her, you know. Let's wait 6 months and we'll talk about her. She said, John, she was wonderful. She was amazing. Like, she is somebody to be talked about. And I was like, no, I know, you're right. And I said, honestly, I meant what I said a month ago. She was the walking gospel to me. She was a constant billboard. I am the love of Jesus. I used to be so hateful to her, and she would just love on me. She would not rail on me. She would not retaliate to me. She would just take it. She allowed me to spew my hatred on her so it was out of me. What? Kidding me? So, like, we are their billboard. Man, I'm having a bad day. This or that or this or that. Okay. I don't have any answers, but I'll tell you what, I'll be right here to listen. That's all I feel like Jesus does is listen. He just says, okay, well, maybe we don't fix the problem, but maybe the problem being fixed is me walking with you and being here. That I know a lot of my questions I had years ago never got answered. I told a guy in a class that I took, I said, you know, I just realized a lot of the questions that I had about the Bible never got answered. But somebody was continuously walking with me, even though my questions weren't being answered. Like intellectual questions, so I could be mad at God. But they never got answered. But what I figured out is his love fixed the things that was making me insecure, that was making me question his goodness and me trusting him. So I want to jump over to Isaiah 26. And this little portion is verse 3. I know I've heard this a whole bunch, but I'm just, well, I'm bent on seeing Him in these things. I really am. I read the Bible for knowledge for so long, and boy, it just wasn't it. This is in the NLT. I have two versions just because I just like to see different versions and what how he words it. This says, "You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you." And the NIV says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust you." Keeping your mind on Jesus, that means that you're letting go of controlling a situation. And I can tell you, there's number one thing. When I do that, I can feel the temperature change on my flesh. I'm like, oh, this is going to work out for his good, not mine. And that's really tough. We live in a self society. We live in that. And that just gets on us. It just gets on us. We're around it all the time. And when people realize you're not trying to be selfish, it's a shocker. They're like, what? Are you kidding me? What is wrong with you? How are you going to build yourself up? Turns out it's not good to build yourself up. What? That is mind blowing. Who told you that? And I mean, it's not like you were trying to minister to them. You're just trying not to be tormented, But your mind being, in perfect peace. I know, like trying to go fishing or going out there in the garden, that's where I just go and clear my mind. When I do have to sit down with our counselors, that's what they say. Hey, how much time are you spending away? And I was like, what? Away from what? Everything. Oh, I don't know. Maybe 11 o'clock at night when I lay down and go to sleep. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's good for you. That's real healthy. But they know, just like the next thing that I'm going to share, Jesus got away for a few minutes. I'm not saying go away for 2 weeks and leave everybody behind, but we can't do it in our strength. There's like a hero mindset. You just can't be a hero. You can't do it. Like he's the hero. We're not the hero. And I fell into that a whole bunch of times because they demand, hey, we need you to do this. And you're like, I'm the man. I'm coming to do it. Whoa, hold on. Are you sure? You may not be the person. And that demand may not be from the Lord. And that's hard. That is tough. Hey, you know what? I'm not the guy for that. I'm sorry. I'll get back with you. That's tough. As a man, that's tough. Yeah. Community is what it's about. And being close enough to each other to know, hey, I am not the person. I do know who would be the best fit. And essentially, we are all leading that person to Christ. In any kind of situation that we have, to me, they're in a bad situation, get them straight to Jesus. Because back in the day, I would lead them straight to myself. Hey, I'll walk with them, and then poof. Well, that didn't work. That didn't work out good. Bad deal. But hey, let me get you. This person here knows exactly what's going on. You're just a bridge. You're just bridging them. That's it. We can't follow the Lord until He tells us to leave our plans or ideas and follow His. So for me, being led by the Spirit, Pastor Brad, Pastor David, everybody talks about being led by the Spirit. Honestly, it is the absolute best thing. There is no other way. There's some great sermon series, but I can tell you what, being led by the Spirit is the way to go. Me and Christine, the Lord asked both of us to start parenting by the Spirit. I was like, where's a book on that? He said, I'm the book. Whoa. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, help us out because we sure don't know. And it's been really difficult. Like not parenting by our culture, like how I was raised, how she was raised. It's really been hard. But we're seeing good fruit. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. So we've been writing down what we're learning, trying to be parents by the Spirit. We don't even know what we're doing. Like some people would do a certain thing if their kid did something, and it's just different. We're like, okay, what do you want to do? And it's really different. So this comes as a nudge, a thought that constantly stays in our mind. And then here's what I do. I pretend I didn't really hear that. And so it's kind of like reverse psychology. I'm like, if it's the Lord, it will never go away. But I know when it's him because it's like you just know. You don't even have to think about it. Like you just know. And our choice is to obey or disobey. All right. So Mark 1:16. All right. Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee. He saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fish for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." They left their nets at once and followed him. A little further up, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons, James and John, in a boat repairing their nets. He called them at once, and they also followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men. This story, I was reading this at work the other day too. And this is crazy. These guys weren't fishing for fun. This would be like walking up on Bill Dance and Kevin Van Dam. Hey, brother, all them sponsors you got, all them nice, $1,000 fishing rods you got, ditch all that. We're going to go and fish for people. I guarantee the first thing out of their mouth, I'll tell you what, you have a good day. See you later, buddy. Take care, with that Tennessee hat on. All right, yep. Take care. This old boy left his father-in-law in the boat. Man, that's what I noticed. I was like, golly, he left him in the boat. See you later. He gave his boat up, and he gave his boat to his father-in-law. They must have really been convinced that Jesus was awesome. There's just no way you're going to jump out of a boat and follow somebody. There's just no way. What about your truck? What about your boat trailer? What about all that stuff? What about your job? I was thinking, I was like, these guys have lost their mind. How did they hear about Jesus? Well, if you back up, he's preaching. And so obviously they just happened to sneak in. Maybe he was on a Facebook Live and they're like, oh man, this guy's really preaching. We're going to go over and check him out. Well, this joker happened to show up at Cross Lake, He's like, hey, get out of your Baja boat and come on over here, or your Ranger, whatever it is. This was insane to me. And they left it. They just left it. They weren't, it didn't say that they were drug addicts or alcoholics. I mean, they had plenty of options, I'm sure. They were fishermen. I figured they were probably making decent money. I guess. I don't know. But that's the level of crazy that it takes to follow Jesus. But it's the fools that get it. Because I know I would have been like, I don't know. My reasoning would have went in, and then my spidey senses would have been like, is this really worth it? Like, I don't know. Let's really think about this. Let's get a plan. Yeah, that didn't work. They didn't plan on nothing. They just planned on leaving. I don't know. That struck me. But of course, as you follow Jesus, your life will change. And so will the lives of others, even the father-in-law. I think about they didn't say anything else about him. The guy he got a new boat. This is great. Man, Jesus, you're wonderful. Thanks. Maybe you should show up to his house next time, that's not a bad deal. Oh, I think I was reading that late at night and I just busted out laughing, like, you're okay in there. I'm like, I'm good. You wouldn't understand. Just go to sleep, whatever. Oh, man. Yeah, he just made people lose their mind. And that's great. Like in a good way. When it clicked and they were like, it's him. It's the thing that's been leading me. It's that voice. It's him in the flesh. I can't imagine them guys when he died and he's walking down the road. I would have screamed like, oh my gosh, you've been playing jokes on us. You've been walking with us this whole time. We didn't even know it. What if he's been walking with us so many times and he's never said a key word that made us click and go, oh man, we were talking to him in the flesh. Dang. I wish I'd have known that. I'd have given him a big old hug and kissed him on his cheek or something. But he just wanted to get real close, like close to face with us. Boy, that's got to be wonderful. So the next part of this story, it talks about Jesus, Peter. He figured out it was the Lord. And he did what we would all do. He jumped in the water. He just took off. The other people stayed in the boat. That's John 21:6. I'm sorry. Yeah, they stayed in the boat. He was making fish for them down there. He had a meal cooked. Where'd he get the fish from? They were fishing. He is the meal. He's always got a meal for us. Oh, man. Yep, I think a lot of the things that we put our mind on, I know for me, they don't satisfy, but he already has the meal. And when we're with him, we're satisfied. Our mind is surrendered. It has to. When we're with him, hey, that's it. Time to put that thing on pause, right? That's freedom right there. I feel like the mind being on pause is the best freedom you can have. That sucker is on. Christine said, when I get home, you're just all over the place. And I'm like, I hate it. I know. Go outside and just sit still. I know it. But we call it alarm state. You're just stuck. You're just stuck in alarm. That's all you're stuck in alarm. You're just waiting on this bell to go off. And it is torment. So when I get home, like, gosh, I've got to go outside and just shut it all down, right? All right. This is a bunch of scriptures here. I'm going to read a few of them because I just really like. What I was really looking at in some of these is people just following Jesus, and they didn't know they didn't really even know what they were doing. They were just like, this is awesome. And the story that I thought about is when you meet a new friend and you're like, he invited us to his house. We're going to go over here and have fun. Well, you just hang out with that person all week long, back when I was younger. And that's kind of how it was here. They were like, man, we was walking with Jesus and this guy heals somebody. And we're like, that is so cool. What's going to happen next? And so it almost evolved into entertainment for a little bit. But they became the disciples because they were walking with him. And they didn't really know what they were doing. They were just like, man, I don't want to leave the show, like this is exciting. But something in them was like, hey, this is real. So I want to back up. Oh man. Yeah, this is Mark 1, the 1:1. And this was John the Baptist talking about Jesus. He was telling them verbally, hey, this is what's coming to you. And it says, this is the good news about Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God. It began just as the prophet Isaiah had written. Look, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, and he will prepare your way. He is a voice shouting in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord's coming. Clear the road for him. The messenger was John the Baptist. He was in the wilderness and preached that people should be baptized to show that they had repented of their sins and turned to God to be forgiven. All of Judea, including all the people in Jerusalem, went out to see and hear John. When they confessed their sins, he baptized them in the Jordan River. His clothes were woven with coarse camel hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. For food he ate was locust and wild honey. So John his job was to tell people, hey, he's coming. Be ready. Get ready. Here he comes. So when people would tell me, hey, you need the Lord, they were essentially telling me, hey, you need to clear your mind and your heart out. You need the Lord, man. You need to invite the Lord. Ask him to come into your life and help you. And I didn't really understand what they were talking about. I thought it was a conversion thing, a convert. I didn't know it was a relationship, a friend that I would literally ultimately give my life. Hey, here's my whole life. I didn't understand that. So these men that walked with Jesus, I mean, they seen it all. They watched him do some of the biggest miracles that we've read about here. But today that stuff's still happening. But we're just all doing it together. We're all being led by the same voice that was leading Jesus. Isn't that great? Well, y'all got anything?